Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady, where I help home business owners win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. Okay, you guys. The IRS is issuing a new W-4 for 2020. Yay! Maybe. Okay. So yeah, the IRS is reissuing the W-4. It's a new design and all of that. So I'm going to go through that with you. Um, and because the news is starting to hit the ground, and so have gotten questions, and the IRS actually did a really good job of a list of frequently asked questions. So I'm going to share some of those highlights with you today. So first of all, why the new W-4? Well, if you remember from this past tax season, this past tax season, the 2019 filing was the first filing under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. There were people that were having severe reactions to the results of their tax returns. There were people that, normally got refunds. Their refunds may have been smaller, or they wound up owing. There are people that wound up owing more. There are a lot of people that had an issue with under withholding penalties. And so that caused a lot of heartburn. And then the IRS said, okay, well, we're going to remove the penalty, but only for a certain segment of the population. So there was all kinds of stuff that just happened with this filing. And there are a lot of us that aren't even done with the 2019 tax year yet. Okay. So there are still some people who still have yet to deal with this. So in order to make this a little bit easier, the IRS went and redesigned the W-4. And so the new design is really, it is simpler, okay? Because the worksheets, because remember with the old W-4, you had to go complete this worksheet, and if you got this worksheet, you had to go complete that worksheet, bring it back over here, and carry the one out. You don't have to do that anymore. So I put a link in the description to access the draft of the W-4, and here it is. You can see the form is completely different, and it has the instructions and all of that. So that is one of the things. The design is simpler, and it takes away all the funky worksheets and stuff that you needed a PhD in rocket science in order to fill out the W-4. You guys, it was just not cute. But this design is simpler. So number 2, there are no allowances with the new W-4. In the past, with the W-4, you could adjust your allowances up or down to where you wanted to have more money being withheld or less money being withheld. You could adjust those allowances. Well, with the new W-4, it doesn't do all that. There are no allowances. So and what the allowance was tied to was your personal exemptions and dependent exemptions, but you don't have those anymore with Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. The personal exemptions were removed. So with this W-4, there are no more allowances because that's not a part of the tax law anyway. Now, so the big question is, should I go review my W-4 or submit a new W-4? And the answer is yes, right? And the reason I say that, do you have to? Absolutely not. You do not have to submit your W-4, but I highly encourage you to do so, simply because this is your tax life. This is your finances. It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. This is something that you need to be paying attention to. You need to be looking at your withholdings at about the June time frame to do a paycheck checkup. Okay, this is to make sure that you are on track to have enough withholding within your paycheck in order for you to meet your tax liability and not have to owe. And that really is the goal of filing your taxes. The goal of filing your taxes is not to owe, not to get a refund, but to be right on the money. So if you can get as right on the money as possible, that is the goal. I once had a client, I kid you not, guys, she owed $100 and she wanted to know what could she do to not have to owe $100. Like, baby, that's as close to zero as I have ever seen when filing. But anyway, So, no, you don't have to submit the new W-4, but I really do encourage you to do so. I encourage you to take a look at the new W-4 at least and fill it out, compare it to what you have going on, and that to make you more informed. That's it. Be informed about what you're doing. So, now let's talk about increasing withholdings. Like, um, there's I think there's still some confusion when there's two jobs in a household, whether it's one person working two jobs or you've got spouses living to that are married and both have jobs. And the problem is that I've seen is that each spouse is was taking exemptions. So if you got a family of four and each spouse is claiming two exemptions, then you're going to wind up owing. And so with this, it tells you that if you have more than one job in the household, that you should probably increase your withholdings. And then there's a part of the W-4 to do that. And if you don't make the adjustments, then you'll probably wind up owing at the end of the year if that's and that can be your preference, which is absolutely cool, but you just need to know the math, right? And so, and especially if you're talking about having self-employment income, from your home-based business or your side gig or whatever you want to call it. If you've got this self-employed income, this is untaxed income that is coming into your home. So if you're still working a job, you may want to increase your withholdings in order to balance out the net profit that you're going to have from your business. Now, you may consider decreasing your withholding if you're eligible for tax credits. There's the child tax credit. There's, the American Opportunity Credit, the Lifetime Learning Credit. It just depends on the different types of tax credits that you may be eligible for. Now, mind you, you have to know the rules of these credits, earned income tax credit, all those credits, right? You've got to know the rules. So you may decrease your withholding if you are eligible for the earned income tax credit. Now, also, the one thing that you also want to keep in mind is a change in your filing status, okay? If you're normally filing head of household and your child goes off to college this year, guess what? You're not head of household necessarily anymore. If that child is off and maybe claiming themselves, you are no longer head of household. You're single. Okay, so that change in your filing status is going to cause a change in your withholdings as well. So you got to, make sure that you're filing the correct filing status and beware of any upcoming changes, right? Because if you've got a child that is 17 and getting ready to age out, you're not going to be eligible for that child tax credit anymore. Okay, so even though you may be head of household, you might not be getting that child tax credit. And so that's going to be a change in your withholdings as well. So you really got to think about the changes that are coming up within your household when you're looking at this W-4. This is why I say you definitely need to check on your W-4 at least once a year, because you're not really thinking about, like I said, a child aging out or anything like that. Life changes, because a lot of times we have life changes and the last thing that's on our minds is a W-4 might have too much coming out or not enough coming out. Okay, so you definitely got to do that. But yeah, and then there was a big issue with the previous W-4 on having multiple jobs. Well, what this W-4 does is it has some options for you to calculate your withholdings if you don't want your employer to know that you have a side gig, or if you don't want your employer to know that you have another job. Then because the way this W-4 is designed, it should be done for the highest paying job. And so if you're trying to, keep it on the low, that you got another job or you got a side gig that you're doing from home, then what this W-4 does is allows you different options in order for you to calculate your withholdings properly and not reveal to your current employer that you've got another job or something. Okay. So let me see. I got my notes here. I want to make sure I've gone through everything. I think that's it. So there is also a new There's also a new withholding calculator that is up on the IRS website. I'll put that link in the comments when I get done. But there is a new W-4 calculator that you can also use to help you with this. And I, played around with that calculator, and I really like this one a lot better than the one that was, you guys, because the one that thing was just bonkers. That math, that dog just didn't hunt, okay? Because when I tried it, for me, what it said I should have been getting back in a refund, I almost laughed myself out of the chair because that's just bonkers. When it comes down to a child that is working and is in college, claiming them can be a little tricky because it depends on the amount of money that they earn as to whether or not, number one, they need to file. Whether or not they need to file their own taxes, and depending on how much they make, they may or may not be able to be claimed as a dependent. And let me give you a great example. A lot of these little college kids went out and bossed out with cryptocurrency and all of that. And so if you go over here and make $70,000 in whether it's cryptocurrency or you're selling on eBay and all that stuff, mom and daddy can't claim you when you're making that much money because you're making enough money to sustain yourself. So it really just depends on how much money that college student is making and what their costs of living are, and if you are still paying the majority of their living expenses, that 51% or more, okay? So there are some tricks to that. I highly encourage you to consult with a tax person to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And it's also earned income and unearned income as well, you guys. So there are some moving parts when it comes down to claiming, how your kid's income is claimed. So just to let you know. All right. So that's it for today's episode of Home Biz Tax Talk. Look for those links, you guys, and go play around with the calculator. Look at the new W-4. Get ready for that in the upcoming year. All right. Just don't go to sleep on it. All right. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, we're here Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish, and you can come right here to get your questions answered about your home business taxes. All right. Have a great day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.